My most recent book is about betrayal and forgiveness because well
Mm.
over half, depending on how you define betrayal, but well over half of the couples I work with in the first session are dealing with something that they would call a betrayal. Often it's just regular old infidelity. Somebody had sex with somebody and their deal with each other was monogamy. But there's all kinds of other types of betrayal. I it's funny. I'm not sure I would call those the hardest ones for me to deal with. I think the
Mm.
hardest ones for me to deal with, I remember around the pandemic, dealing with folks that had radically different ideas about vaccination. That was really
Oh,
hard, in
yeah.
particular because it freaked me out. And of course
Hmm.
that's the key for the therapist has to be the one in the room who's not freaked out. And there were some things early on during COVID where I would get freaked out
Hmm.
by someone's attitude, and I'd be thinking, how could you be thinking that? That's like evil or whatever. I was
Hmm.
sort of, but after I got hold of myself around that, that got a little easier. But it's the political difference stuff, which again, I think I've gotten better at over the years. That's been really hard, especially since 2016. I didn't,
Hmm.
I've been doing this, they say, in private practice now for over 30 years, and I don't remember before that political differences between couples being all that big a deal. I like
Hmm.
to cite this. I was born in 1951. I remember the 1960 election, Kennedy and Nixon, and I remember my father voted for Nixon and my mother voted for Kennedy, and they just laughed about it. It
Hmm.
wasn't like this crisis in the family. It was just funny. They said, I guess we canceled each other's vote, didn't we? Ha ha.
Yeah.
It was
Isn't that
funny.
like we can't be in the same room
Yeah,
anymore in the
they
same
they
marriage
were
with each
smiling.
other?
They were not enemies.
Right.
That what I have seen since 2016, where I've seen couples who are split politically. Wow, that it's led to divorce in some cases. I
Hmm.
can't support you if you are like that. I can't be with you if you are like that. It was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's difficult stuff.
I mean, that's something we see, and political scientists are actually really worried about this because we call it assortative mating, and it's when people mate along, certain kinds of criteria. And it used to be religion, right? So, back in the
Yeah.
day, you would marry within your religion, and that was just how life went. But you could marry easily across political lines, right? Because religion was the fact that you
Hmm.
shared the same religious values was the really important thing. Now it's much more common for people to marry outside their religion than it is for them to marry outside their political party.